Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's your boy Nolan Hawkeye Anthony here, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic start to your week, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. Today, we're going to be previewing Iowa versus Colorado State. The Iowa Hawkeyes improved to 3-0 after last Saturday shellacking 30-7 over Kent State. I'm going to be adding some fun new information. I don't know why I didn't do it before. I've always had a subscription to Pro Football Focus, so I will be using that as well. You guys will be able to get the same information I get or pay for free. I'm hooking you guys up here. But before we do that, I want to mention going to 247hawkeye.com. And I really hope you guys consider hitting that subscribe button. It really means a lot when you guys do that. And if you don't think we've earned it or I've earned it, at the very least, like, comment. I try and comment back to almost everybody who comments. That's why I started doing this in the first place. And this show is nothing without you guys. You guys are what makes this an awesome opportunity, an awesome platform, and just amazing. And last but not least, be sure to catch the NHA podcast every Wednesday. And without further ado, let's get into this. So I don't even really care what these yahoos think about sports in general. I mean, I played sports myself at a higher level than every single one of these guys, except for Danny Cannell. But I just wanted to show this. This is from last week to show you kind of what some of the national media is thinking about the Iowa Hawkeyes. So here we go.
Is that coaches think Iowa's fraudulent. Coaches see an Iowa team that offensively does not intimidate maybe a lot of defenses. And I understand the coaches poll is sometimes the SID poll. We can be honest about this. But I lean a little bit more with the AP on this one. I go higher on Iowa as opposed to lower with the coages.
As somebody who has bet, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, do you know what team is ranked
Sorry, go ahead.
125th in the country in yards per play on offense?
So if you guys missed it, his question is, so do you guys know who is 125th in the country in total offense? It's Iowa.
Is it Iowa?
It's Iowa.
Whoo, big point, dude. Now, I don't want to make this too much of me just goofing on these guys, but in college sports, what you see a lot of, and I'm guilty of doing this sometimes myself, but you try and outthink the system and you try to be more intelligent than you actually are, as opposed to just trusting your eyes, trusting what you know to be true, and then using the stats sparingly to make your point. All right, we're going to play 10 more seconds of this.
That's the fifth best team in the country. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not taking away anything from their wins over Indiana and Iowa State.
You kind of are, bud.
So from a resume perspective, considering Indiana was ranked 17th, I think, to start the season, and Iowa was ranked, 9th or 10th last week when Iowa beat it.
Okay, that's enough of that. Because I just don't want to waste too much time on this. But the long and the short of it is these two guys, okay, the guy on the upper right and then the guy on the bottom left, their argument is Iowa is who they are offensively, and therefore they are not a top 5 team in the country. Their defense is elite, but their offense is poor, and therefore they are not a top 5 team in the country. And after improving to 3-0 and beating Kent State by double digits, which makes 3 games in a row that Iowa has beaten a team by double digits, my answer is, number one, Iowa is always this slow to start the season offensively. Okay, that's number one. And I fully expect them to improve as the year goes on. I think they have the options, both at, they have the option at running back, they have the option at tight end, they have the option at wide receiver. I think ultimately Spencer Petrus just needs to find who he is most comfortable with? Who is his top option at each level of the field? Furthermore, okay, and by the way, when I show you guys the grading of Spencer Petrus, I think it's going to surprise a lot of you guys. I did already put it on my Facebook. But the last point I want to make to what these guys are saying is, as an Iowa fan, knowing what I know about Iowa, okay, and this is going to be a 2-point part. Number one, okay, I played Division I water polo, and I can tell you that knowing how to create turnovers and knowing how to win football games is as much of a skill as throwing the football or running the football. I don't know why. It is what it is, and Iowa is damn good at it. The second thing that I wanted to say is these guys' assumption is that Iowa will not improve offensively for the rest of the season, okay? And by the way, I do want to make the point that the guy in the upper left and Denny Cannell in the bottom right are not against Iowa. It's the guy in the top right and the guy in the bottom left. It is a massive assumption that Iowa, who last year started very slow offensively and then became a top 40 scoring average team in the country, that this is how it will always be for the rest of the season. And that's just not the case. Iowa always improves offensively, whether it's by a lot or by a little. They will not be what they were versus Indiana and versus Iowa State. We already saw that against Kent State. There were a few aspects of that game that Iowa improved on. So I don't want to spend too much time on this. I just wanted to use it as some extra content. Just a fun thing to share. But now, before we take a look at Colorado State and their team stats compared to Iowa's, I do want to show you guys some of the Iowa players' Pro Football Focus rankings. And I understand that Pro Football Focus rankings are not the end-all be-all. I get that. But it is fun to take a look. And we're not going to be taking a look at all of them, but I'm going to show you guys some of the grades for some of the Iowa Hawkeye starters. So this is the quarterback ranking of Spencer Petrus, who is 41st. If you guys can see right here, it's in the middle of the screen. Okay. And he's graded higher than Keaton Slovis, Peyton Thorne of Michigan State. And I was pleasantly surprised by his grade. But in reality, his grade is probably accurate. The guy has not turned the ball over a ton. He has a couple touchdown passes. He hasn't done anything terrible to hurt his grading system. Again, is this perfect? No. But let's take a further look. His passing grade is 75.7, and his run game grade is 72.9. So Spencer Petrus comes in at 41 in their quarterback rankings. Now we will take a look at running back. And by the way, comment. Let me know if you think that it's surprising to you that Spencer Petrus is graded out as a top 50 quarterback by Pro Football Focus. And by the way, just for shoots and giggles, the Colorado State starting quarterback is ranked 59th by Pro Football Focus. He is graded as a 76.3. I believe a solid grade, okay, considered above average, is a 75. It might be a 78. I can't remember for sure. But I don't hold me to it, but I think 76.3 is actually slightly above average. His passing grade is a 73.4, and his run game grade is a 63.8. So Iowa will be lining up against the 59th best graded Pro Football Focus quarterback. And I would have showed you guys the wide receiver grades of the Iowa wide receivers, but there's simply no grades for the Iowa wide receivers. They are not graded high enough. I think only 300 players at each position are graded. I could not find any grades on the Iowa wide receivers, which I think might tell you a little bit more, at least how Pro Football not me, how Pro Football Focus sees Spencer Petrus versus his wide receiver and whose fault it more so is in that tandem. Tyler Goodson is graded 104th, as the 104th best running back in the country. He has a grade of a 68.6. And basically what that means is that the two games in which he had pretty solid numbers against Indiana and against Kent State, they don't view it as highly as the stats would indicate. In other words, the stats that he's had, Pro Football Focus could care less. So I do think that that is somewhat interesting, and we will see if it improves. They give him a pass game grade of a 65.6 and a run game grade of a 77.2. I want to make sure that's receiving and run. I'm not going to get super in depth into either one here. I'll just pull it up for you. Let's look at Tyler Goodson's profile here. Okay. They give him a 68.6 offensive grade overall, a 65.2 run grade, and a 77.2 receiving grade. So it looks like they think he is better in the receiving game than he currently is in the run game. So, and he has been in 123 snaps in the backfield. All right, here is Sam Laporta. By the way, guys, I will never make you guys pay for anything like this, okay? You know, I've seen some of the other Iowa websites that do that. I will never do that. I think it's silly to ask you guys to do that, to pay me because I pay for this myself. I would never do that. Anyways, so I just want to make that clarification to you guys. Sam Laporta has been in at least 130 snaps here. You guys can see it on the bottom right. He has an offensive grade overall of a 65.8, receiving grade of a 76.3, and a run block grade of 41.8. And I got to say that does somewhat surprise me. Okay. That is very low, very, very low. So we'll see if Sam Laporta can improve his run block grade, because for now his receiving grade is excellent. So hopefully he can get that in line. The anchor of the Iowa Hawkeyes, baby, Tyler Linderbaum, is ranked as the 6th overall center in the country. He has a grade of an 81. Let's take a look at him even further. He has a pass block grade of a 68.4 and a run block grade of 79.1. Hopefully he can get that grade up a little bit. Being top 10 at your position is excellent. Now, you might expect Tyler Linderbaum to be top 5, but it's only the first 3 games of the season. We will see if he can improve. By the way, okay, I'm just going to pull this up while I'm talking about it, okay? I thought that the issues with Iowa's offensive line was the inline, the guards and the center. It is not, okay? Tyler Linderbaum is graded as a top 10 center. Connor Colby, the freshman, is graded out as the number 1 offensive guard. I almost forgot in the country. And obviously Connor Colby hasn't had all of the stats, snaps in the world. But he still had quite a few. He's had 88 snaps. He is graded out as a 90.7 in run block and a 71.3 in pass block and 88.1 overall. Furthermore, okay, it's not just him. Justin Britt, if we take a look here, is also high. Justin Britt and Cody Ince are both very highly graded as well. Justin Britt checks in at number 17. Cody Ince checks in at number 25. So 3 of Iowa's interior offensive linemen are graded in the top 25 in the country. Okay. The issue, at least according to Pro Football Focus, if there is an issue, I'm not saying there is an issue. Okay. But if there is a problem, the issue does not seem to be on the interior of the offensive line. The issue seems to be on the exterior with the tackles. Nick DeJong is Iowa's best. You guys can see right here is Iowa's highest graded offensive tackle. And he's not graded terribly. He has a overall grade of a 69.7. You know, he looks very average right now at both pass block and run block. But Iowa needs to get better at the tackle position. We'll see what happens there. But you know, it shouldn't be surprising. The experience that Iowa has is on the interior. Okay. Nick DeJong and Mason Reichman or Jack Plum have had limited snaps at the tackle position. The person who's had the most experience at the tackle position isn't even starting, and that's Jack Plum. So that is that. I don't want to stay on this too long. Here is the cornerbacks grade for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and I think I will stop here. Matt Hankins is the fifth, according to Pro Football Focus, is the fifth best corner in the country. I can't remember if he got injured or not. He has a coverage grade of an 86.1 and a run defense grade of a 79.5. Let's take a look at Riley Moss is 18th in the country with a overall grade of an 80.3, a coverage grade of an 84.9, and a run defense grade of a 50.8. So he needs to shore that up. All right, guys, I don't want to keep looking at this too long, but those are the grades indeed. Maybe I can take a look at the safeties for you guys. I will tell you, at the linebacker position, Justin Jacobs is considered a top 10 linebacker. I will actually pull that up for you as well. And it might actually be surprising to you that Jack Campbell is the lowest graded linebacker that Iowa has currently. It certainly surprised me. I mean, I think he is the best linebacker Iowa has, but the bottom line is Justin Jacobs has been playing like a man possessed. And, you know, I will show you guys his grade as well. I'm trying to see if we can find a grade for the Iowa safeties. There's Kayvon Merriweather right there. He checks in at 214 with an overall grade of a 64.6, and that will need to be improved, no doubt about it. I don't really feel like looking that much harder at it. I want to show you guys the linebacking grade. Justin Jacobs is considered the sixth best linebacker by Pro Football Focus with an overall defensive grade of an 84.8, a run score of an 88, and a coverage score of an 80.8. So he has been absolutely excellent. And you know, it's I don't know who Phil Parker has to take off the field in order to get Justin Jacobs in, but I kind of have a feeling that it's not a linebacker that my guess is he sometimes takes Seth Benson out, and then he sometimes takes someone like Dane Belton or Kayvon Merriweather out, and he splits it in half on who he takes out in order to get Justin Jacobs the snaps he earned. He doesn't just deserve the snaps. He earned the snaps that he has been getting. I'm trying to pull up the other Iowa linebacking grades. Here we go. Seth Benson is considered the 240th best linebacker, and Jack Campbell the 256th. So there we go, guys. Those are the Pro Football Focus grades. Now I want to take a further look at Colorado State and Iowa and their team stats. And by the way, Iowa does open as a 22.5-point favorite. Some places as low as 22 and as high as 23. But I will pull that up for you guys so you guys can check that out as well. So Iowa versus Colorado State, baby. It will be on Fox Sports 1, okay? And ESPN and their matchup predictor has Iowa as a 96.2% favorite to win this game outright. By the way, the game starts at 12:30 Pacific time, which is 2:30 Central time. Points per game, Iowa is averaging 30. I'm going to zoom this in a little bit for you guys so you guys can see it better. There you guys have it right there. Iowa is a 22.5 point favorite. The over and under is 44.5. Points per game, Iowa is averaging 30, while Colorado State is averaging 22. Points allowed per game, Iowa is only giving up 10 points per game. Absolutely wicked. Total yards. This is crazy. Iowa only averages 298 yards per game, but they average 30 points a game. That's pretty good. The yards per game is not good, but averaging 30 points a game is good. 154 yards passing and 143 yards rushing. And Iowa gives up 278 yards a game, while Colorado State gives up 366. And of the two, by far, Colorado State gives up way more yards in the air. They give up 244 yards a game through the air. So hopefully this is going to be a game that Iowa can get back on track. Passing the football, they did look better last week. So we will see if this is the game that they can start getting into a groove before. And that should be the goal. Iowa should be this game against Colorado State. Iowa should be trying to shoot through the glass ceiling before getting into Big Ten play. And hopefully this will be the game that we see Iowa's offensive game open up and be more consistent and explosive. To me, it's not that Iowa doesn't have the players. It's just sometimes it's very choppy. It's very clumsy. It's very inefficient. I explained it before that Brian Ferentz calls football games like an offensive lineman. Sometimes he'll call a play where the ball is on the left side of the field, and he will have Spencer Petrus throw a ball 20 yards this way to the right, but it's only a 3-yard gain forward. And it's like, even if that pass was completed, for 3 yards, you could have just ran the football to do that. So hopefully Brian Ferentz, and that's not me saying Brian Ferentz is a bad offense coordinator. I don't think he is. I think he's okay. And I think he has certainly improved every year since taking over. So there we go. Here is Colorado State's last 5 opponents. They lost 4 straight before beating Toledo last week, 22-6. And Iowa is on a 9-game win streak, folks. It is absolutely incredible, the success Iowa has been able to have. Colorado State's, let's take a look at Colorado State's stats here. So here we go, guys. Todd Centillo is Colorado State's starting quarterback, and he has 652 yards on the season, 3 touchdowns, and 1 INT. That's not terrible, guys. It's actually decent. David Bailey has 258 yards on the ground. Also, the quarterback, Todd Centillo, has 147 yards on the ground. So it looks like Colorado State's quarterback can pass and throw the football. And the last guy of consequence is Ajon Vivens, who has 73 yards on the ground. Receiving, their top guy is their tight end, Trey McBride, and their wide receiver, Dante Wright. And as far as kicking the football, Caden Camper is 100%. And defensively, a few guys have a couple of sacks. It looks like linebacker Mehmed Kamara has 3.5 sacks for 27 yards. A few other guys have 1.5. Colorado State has 9 sacks overall, which isn't great, but it's also not bad. So that is something to look out for. So let's wrap this up, fellow Iowa fans. Here's a nice little graph of the stats of Iowa compared to Colorado State. And Iowa is far and away better than Colorado State. The only stat that they are not are the average of total yards. And listen, Iowa will never be an offense that is some magnanimous passing offense. Sometimes they can pass the football, but they would rather take their time, set things up, let the defense do the work for them. Let special teams set them up for easy scores and things like that. By the way, Iowa has 8 takeaways compared to 3 giveaways. 2 of those fumbles have come from Ivory Kelly Martin, and the giveaways for Colorado State are 4 with only 1 takeaway. So for me, all I'm looking for, guys, and I'm gonna see if I can pull up the depth chart just to have it in the background here. So here, by the way, this depth chart will get updated today, probably. I always try and get this video out before any other preview gets out for the Iowa Hawkeyes. But for me, okay, this is Colorado State is not a good pass defense. Iowa, yes, they need help both rushing the football and passing the football, but this is a game that I really think that they can get on track at the very least, passing the football and getting the confidence up of Tyrone Tracy or Nico Reganey or Charlie Jones. Whoever it is, I don't care. It needs to be one of them. Spencer Petrus, and I know most people would say, well, quarterbacks shouldn't have a favorite wide receiver target. I disagree, okay? You need someone that you feel comfortable with, that when the chips are down, you feel confident you can go to them. And to me, that I don't know who that will be ultimately, but Spencer needs to find that. Furthermore, as far as the wide receiver group goes, I don't think it will just be the 3 wide receivers. I think, like what we saw against Kent State, Iowa will continue to use 6 or 7 wide receivers throughout the game. It'll be Charlie Jones, Tyrone Tracy, Nico Reganey, Arland Bruce, Keegan Johnson, and there's a walk-on who has gotten a few receptions that I can't remember right now, but that is what Iowa will do. They are just probably going to use the wide receiver position in numbers to see if somebody can step through and do what they are supposed to do. Last but not least, the defense. They just need to continue being the Iowa elite defense. This defense truly is elite. It is one of the best in the country, and it is good enough to take the Hawkeyes to where they want to go. And hopefully they continue that trend on Saturday at 12:30 Pacific time, at 2:30 Central time against the Colorado State Rams. For me, again, just like last week, this comes down to the Iowa Hawkeye offense and them getting on track right before they go and take on a Maryland Terrapins team from the Big Ten. This should be a game where Iowa tries to get everything as perfectly as possible or on track as possible before they get back into Big Ten play, because once this game is over, they are on the home stretch towards finishing this season. So I would argue that this is one of the most important games in the Iowa Hawkeye season as far as momentum goes, as far as confidence goes, and all of the things that really do matter over the course of a season. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for hanging with me. You guys are truly amazing. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you guys. And so for that, I want to thank you. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you don't think I've earned it, at the very least, like, comment. Hopefully one of you guys shares this out. You'd be surprised how much sharing by just one of you guys really matters. And be sure to go to 247hawkeye.com and check the NHA podcast out every Wednesday. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow, and facts are feelings, because your feelings don't matter. Love y'all. Go Hawks. Bye.